And away we go.
Take two.
We had a false start.
Yeah, episode 52, part 1, brought to you today by Phonetic, Vietnamese. It's a chain at least here in Austin, and I've got street tacos with shrimp.
I got the banh mi with the lemongrass beef.
It's good stuff.
Awesome.
I heard something about they were having to close some stores, but either they reopened them or didn't have to do that. Whatever the case, they were open today. It's good food. So, yeah. And mostly we're going to be talking about the cold water people,
Minnesota.
Yeah. And we're going to start off and do mostly or entirely
on this episode.
This episode is going to cover Minnesota. We might do a second episode. We might not. And obviously we kind of almost have to start with the shooting. I mean, there's been more than one at this point, but the one that focused everybody's attention was of course Renee Good. Renee Nicole Good.
Shot by Jonathan. Jonathan Ross was the
and Jonathan Ross being the assailant, the ICE agent. And the focal point of the whole thing, of course, is the fact that there were multiple videos, and all of it, ironically, the video that he took, even more so than the rest of it, confirms a single story that is 180 degrees different than what Kristi Noem and the administration will tell you happened. So just to summarize, she lived in this area. It wasn't like she was traveling to stir up anything or whatever. She lived a couple blocks away from where this happened. So that's line number one, is she was up to some craziness or whatever. No, she lived in that area, and she had, at the time that this happened, she had, at most, she was watching what was going on, but she was not doing anything wrong per se in any way, shape, or form that anybody has proof of. Anybody at this point. And even when, just before everything happened, she was being nice to the guy. She was going out of her way saying, hey, have a good day. I'm sorry about this, blah, blah, blah. And then, bam, bam, what
she said was, I'm not mad at you.
I'm not mad at you. Those were her last words.
I don't think she said all the things you said.
Well, no, I was paraphrasing. You actually pulled, I think, her exact words. I'm not mad at you. And then we know his words right after taking her life would, fuck you, bitch. The story could not be more plain as to what happened. Now, why is another matter, but the bottom line is that it was murder. There's no justification for any, just none. But they're trying to turn it inside out in 50 different ways to try and paint it. What I find really disturbing, well, first, of course, is Kristi Noem saying all these things that clearly just didn't happen. But what's even worse is going on in Minnesota right now, is some of the ICE agents and some of the MAGA who are latching onto this. They're saying things like, "Hey, Renee, you're next," and as if they know exactly what happened, and they don't care because they think they're going to be safe, and they're pushing this narrative that
we're immune,
that they're immune and we're not, and we better watch our backs, basically.
Right. So yeah, I think. Look, most of the people probably seeing this or watching this are already exhausted from all this and already heard all the different angles and stories and seen all the different angles and stories, and I guess I'll just go into the psychology of it, because, all right. So first, I just want to mention that in our last episode, we started off with a recap of last year and what we predicted and how it came true, and then we started off by saying that watch out, because this year it's going to get worse, and this is. Look, what happens between now and the election, and is going to determine how violent and how crazy things are going to get. Right? We don't know. This is one of those situations where for me it's a wait and see. Most likely, it's probably going to get pretty violent, but we'll see. Hopefully not. Hopefully, it won't get as violent as I think it might. But there's no question what's going to happen. Because. It's just going to get, tensions are just going to get higher and higher, and eventually someone's going to pop on these guys. It's inevitable. So, and then what? And then when they do the Insurrection Act, and already what's his name in Minnesota?
Tim Welch.
Tim Waltz. God, I'm so bad with names. He's calling out the National Guard to get ready. So, because he wants to institute state control before Trump tries to take federal control of the National Guard. So this is going to be a standoff, and then what side is the military going to take, when he calls for the Insurrection Act, and then what side are the federal troops going to take, so it could come down to this standoff, and that's going to really determine what's going to happen here. And, the people standing up to, and we'll get into that too when we talk about this Jake Clayton character in the next one. But I just want to get in, and I'm going to try to wrap this up as quick as I can, but I just want to get into the psychology behind this, because once again, this goes to people living in alternate realities, and the mindset and the mind frames and how things are reframed, and that how an individual can see the same exact thing and see two different things, right? Based on their ideology, based on their frame of references. Because they are so brainwashed, let's just say, for lack of better terms, what they see, they can interpret completely different than another human being. Obviously, I think we've said this, and there is no true objective reality, if you really want to, but there's an agreed upon reality that we live in, right? So we can get shit done. And I said this before, there's some of this stuff is pretty fucking solid, and that's why we have scientific methods, and that's why we're able to have this phone that you're watching this video and stuff, because there is some objective reality that we can kind of cling on to. But when it comes to the human psyche and consciousness and these things, it gets really wild, man, because and it seems to be that conservatives and people that are far radical like this have this is pathology at a level that's mind-numbing to most individuals. And I'm not saying that it can't go both ways and that some people are less susceptible to bias than others. Everybody has the same human fallible, everyone does, right? But it's a matter of recognizing that and understanding that, and then putting things in context and perspective, which is completely lacking here, because obviously, look, was she following these guys? Possibly. Was she antagonizing? Possibly, right? Don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. She was pulled over, right? You watched the video, okay? And I'm sure you've heard this all before. I'm just going to go through it real quick, so in case anybody hasn't. She was waving cars by. So we know already she's not trying to block traffic. She waved these guys by, but they stopped their car and got out. They could have easily went around her, avoided the whole situation, but they did not. They got out of their car. Completely unnecessary. They have no authority to arrest her. They have no authority to confront her. She has done nothing wrong at this point. They could say she was trying to impede, but obviously she was trying to turn around. She wasn't trying to block them. Any objective human could, if you can't see that and you didn't witness her waving other people around, I don't know what to tell you. This is what happened. So it's pretty obvious and clear to almost any reasonable human that could see this, that wasn't brainwashed, right? So these guys get out. Now she's getting conflicting orders. One person's telling her to leave, screaming at her to leave. The other one's telling her to get out of the car, right? So she doesn't know what to do. She's panicking, right? She obviously, and you said, she tells the one guy who's coming at her, who you can see as he's walking up in his face, that this man is ready to kill somebody. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the look of a guy who's about ready to punch you, but that's the guy. And some of you people out there who've been abused by a guy probably know what I'm talking about. So there's that face, and and that's why she says, I'm not mad at you, because maybe she's seen that face before and knew what she was in for. So she tries to back up, right? And then she's trying to get out. Did she gun it at him as the story is told that she used her? No. Not only that, he gets in front of the car, right? And as he's walking to the car, what does he do? He switches his phone from one hand to the other to draw his pistol, already assuming that he's going to shoot this woman and she's going to drive into him. He is positioning himself in front of the car for an altercation while somebody else is telling her to go, to leave, right? So she's listening to one while he's getting in front of the car, right? Now, here's speculation again, and I don't want to get into all this either, but this is a tactic they were using down at the border where this guy came from, right? And this has happened to him before because he got in front of a fucking car. And then they try to use this thing. Well, he's traumatized from another event.
Which means he shouldn't have even
Which
been
means
there.
he shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
So here's a traumatized guy, obviously, who's getting in front of cars already. I guarantee, once again, maybe this is my bias, but this guy is dreaming of shooting somebody. So he gets in front of this car, right? Now he's got the excuse he needs. She clearly turns the wheel as far as she can, right? Not directed at him, not gunning it towards him, clearing him. He's clear of the car now, right? He's clear of the car. He might have got clipped. There's no doubt about it. But he's reaching around the front windshield now, right? He's out of the way already when he fires the first shot to the front. He's already out of the way and moved over. Clear as day. You can't deny this evidence. Then now he's out of the way, right? No threat to him whatsoever. It was never a threat to begin with when he's leaning over to shoot her the first time. This is clearly out of anger and frustration and malice, not out of self-defense. It's clear. I mean, if you can't see that, you are so brain dead. This is as brain dead as the people who watch George Floyd get choked out and say that he died of a drug overdose. That is how convoluted their brains have become. The indoctrination is so deep that they can witness an event and make it into something it's not, right? And so I just want to explain this all, So then she turns. Now he fires shots in two and three. Two or three more. I think it was three altogether. So two more into the side of the vehicle, that's murder. There's no.
Oh, but one final thing is she was alive after that, and they deliberately waved off people, including a medical
personnel, a guy who identified himself as a doctor,
who were trying to provide help. They said, no, you can't come here, you can't help, stay away.
Right. Now, I don't know what the protocol is for all that, and could it have saved her life? Probably not. That's not really, that is just put insult upon injury.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't allow somebody. I don't know. But that doesn't matter. It was just any basic human decency would say, oh man, let's try to help this woman, right? No, they don't have any of that. You could argue and debate about the legalities of all that shit and whatever, but I think that misses the whole point. And like, this was a murder, and I think it was malice, and I think he was just pissed at this woman. This guy's whole life is probably a pathetic pile of this kind of behavior and thought processes that led up to him, right? Being there in the first place in that fucking suit to do the thing that he did, that he'd probably been dreaming of doing for a long time. So that's what happened here. And like I said, this is pretty clear to almost everybody except for people that are brainwashed. Now, I just want to get into one more of this psychotic thought process, the psychology behind this. These are the same people, right, who, can ignore what happened at on January 6th, right? And that's going to get into this next one that we're going to talk about with this guy. But the hypocrisy, the way their brain, can't accept their own reality and project it onto the reality of others. So it's just incredibly not mind-numbing to me, because it's so hypocritical for them to say something like, here's these people who talk about the Second Amendment, right? And, we got to have these guns and our rights, and don't tread on me. And, freedom, give me freedom, or give me liberty, or give me death. These guys, right, who've been crying and screaming all this stuff, right? And now that they're true, because they're saying that there's going to be masked men in the street coming to get us. Now there are masked men in the street getting people, but guess what? It's the people they don't like, that they hate, the racist bigots that they are, the misogynists that they are. Now it's okay suddenly. The hypocrisy is mind-numbing. Like, it's just unfathomable, because now they justify it now from don't tread on me to comply or die. Which is it, guys? Which world do you live in? Good for me, not good for you. So to try to make this anything else other than being a racist bigot and a violent, or if you're not violent yourself and you think this is okay and you say comply or die, or they're getting what they deserve, well, you are just as bad as the executioner. So anybody who's supporting this right now, anybody who's on the bandwagon with this or promoting this whole thing about Somali fraud and everything, you know what? Go fuck yourself, because you are with the executioners. And I don't want to talk to anybody who's even remotely condoning any of this stuff and talking about it never would have happened to her if she just would have complied. That is total abuser language. You know what? She shouldn't have worn that dress. And you know what? If she just would have relaxed and laid there, it wouldn't have been so bad if she didn't fight back. You get my point.
Yeah. Well, because first of all, once again, there's no evidence that she did anything wrong.
Right.
Period.
And I told you she was waving cars by.
Yeah. But point number two, she could have done 20 things wrong, and even though it would have been grounds to arrest her, it wouldn't have been grounds to kill her. You know,
Right.
like you don't kill criminals just because they're criminals. That's why we have laws and stuff.
And this is all over arresting people for being here undocumented, which 95% of the people, only less than five have violent criminal records that are being, go look it up. It's in the stats. Less than 5% are violent criminals that they're picking up, right, from last year. And another 20 or 30 do have some record, but it's like a speeding ticket or something, right? The rest of them, the vast majority of them are going through the process, or they're just here working, right? Or to have some kind of legal status. So you got 80, 70%, let's say. Look up the numbers. Let's say 60, 70%. You're just freaking flat out abusing. Another 20 just didn't do much at all, like anything anybody would do. And on top of it, the crime of being here illegal is a misdemeanor. So you're out there killing people, dragging people, sending them back into concentration camps for a misdemeanor.
But you're not even
for a jaywalking charge.
But you're not even targeting the right people, because
Right.
you're not getting warrants. You're literally just like, oh, they look like they don't belong here. What the fuck does that mean? That doesn't.
They're going door to door now.
Which I'm going to bring that up in our next video.
So-
but yeah,
Look, this is going into 16 minutes. Maybe we should separate this out into a second episode. And I think we'll do that.
yeah, sounds good.
So we just started off, this one, and the reason I went into this is because I think it's so important, and I think moving forward in the future, we need to go back to teaching, get off of STEM. I saw this great TikTok, and I've been saying it too. Fuck science, technology, engineering, math. Anybody can learn that anywhere, and you can check. That's shit, that's just to feed the systems of capitalism, right? We need to teach critical thinking skills so you can discern all this information. Look, we are bombarded with so much information now that people need discernment skills.
But if
right?
you don't know how to process it, then
You're fucked. Because when it got to where you couldn't indoctrinate in schools anymore and the information is out there for anybody to witness, they just flooded it with misinformation so that people got so confused that they didn't know what was up or down. And that was on purpose. So they purposely flooded everything and just told the most blatant lies they could just to test the waters. Now they can get away with anything and say anything, and people believe it. So discernment, critical thinking skills need to be taught. Secondly, emotional intelligence. Thirdly, psychology and pathology. So people start recognizing the behaviors of these tyrants, right? Of these narcissists. And this is what it all boils down to in the end, is narcissism, which has been propagated since I said in the older episodes about anybody who called themselves a king and divinely rightly called themselves king when they introduced religion into all this bullshit. But, I had these guys in China doing the same thing, called themselves kings that were divinely inspired. It happened in Japan, it happened in Europe, happened to the Roman Empire, who adopted Christianity as a divine right of the king. So, here we go. And then it manifested itself in the United States of America. So this white supremacy, divinely inspired shit, right? So when people need to start recognizing, I think more and more people are, and I like to see it, it all boils down to this narcissism, cultural, societal, and individual narcissism that stems from the individual narcissist and the megalomaniac, right? And it's all about greed. So when people start recognizing, they can recognize it in their family, distance themselves, ostracize those people. The same thing at the workplace, in government, everywhere. So it's this emotional intelligence, this awareness, this empathy, and recognizing pathology, right? And then teaching humanities about other cultures and societies and starting to get along. That's what needs to be promoted in a new environment for a new democracy, or, a democratic socialism. I know I'm going I know this is kind of off the topic a little bit, but not really, because this is the pathology we're fighting at the core.
That's pretty much spot on.
So let's just wrap this one
Okay.
up. So basically, do you want to say something before?
No, I think that's a good spot to close it out, and then we'll anything else we can throw.
Yeah. So basically, these people are completely delusional. They're the kind of people that would look at a picture of like somebody in a pit holding their hand out, right? And another guy with a aiming a gun at him and saying, and not understanding the context of it, and being told that, oh, the guy in the pit whose hand has his hand out is a violent criminal going to kill that person. But the real story is that is a fascist in Germany in 1942 in Poland shooting somebody in a concentration camp in a pit. Right, but they're going to be told the guy in the pit is going to try to kill the guy with the gun and he's defending himself. See, that's the context. That's like people aren't seeing the whole picture. They're being shown a picture and a story that doesn't fit, a narrative that doesn't fit the picture. And so here, the picture's real. Yeah, the picture's real. The evidence is real, but the narrative is completely false. So that you could give a data point, but if you don't understand, data means nothing. Oh, the data speaks for itself. No, it doesn't.
It never speaks for
itself. It never. The data, no. It's still, you have to tell a story, right? And the story is wrong. They get it wrong every time. They always pretend to be the victim when they're an assailant. They're the killers, and people are defending themselves.